If I told you the simple act of mowing my lawn led to police citations, a fire truck rescue, and my wife threatening divorce, would you believe me? Maybe not. But that's the true cost of suburban warfare. All because a woman named Penelope Prescott decided my Saturday morning rituals sounded too much like freedom. She tried to silence my passion, so I gave her a primal scream she never saw coming. It was 8:02 a.m. in the Willow Creek Estates. This sterile, HOA-managed, chemically perfect hellscape, where every house looked like a variation of the same muted color palette. The sun was just peeking over the horizon, painting the sky golden, and the air was mine for about the next hour. I'd just yanked the pull cord on the Leviathan. She wasn't just a mower. She was a beat-up, 1996 Briggs & Stratton brute I'd rescued from the weeds behind a friend's barn. Her headlight was missing. The seat was basically 99% Gorilla Tape. But that 18-horsepower engine? Man, that was the heartbeat of pure, unadulterated American rebellion. She caught with a VROM that rattled my teeth and shook the half-empty can of Mountain Dew in the cup holder. This wasn't yard work. This was therapy. The noise, the high-octane smoke, the vibration blurring my vision. It was my moment, my defiance against the beige mediocrity. I popped in one earbud, queued up some CCR's Fortunate Son, jammed the throttle, and engaged the blades. Wonka chunk of room. That was the sound of industry, the sound of a man taking pride in his diagonal cut, that big league stadium feel, you know? I was maybe 3 lines deep, just getting into the groove around the old oak tree, when the feeling hit me, a disturbance in the force, a sudden drop in the temperature of the morning. I looked up, and there she was, standing on the perimeter of my property like a perfectly coiffed, platinum-haired security camera. Penelope Prescott from 4A, HOA president, a woman whose entire existence seemed dedicated to enforcing maximum compliance. Her lawn, of course, was an unervingly perfect carpet of fescue, and she was wearing a crisp white robe, sipping from a mug that probably said, "You will conform." She didn't yell. She didn't have to. She just stood there, radiating this icy, judgmental silence that was more powerful than any siren. I tried the neighborly half-wave, 2 fingers off the wheel, and pretended to laser focus on my edging, hoping she'd melt back into the beige landscape. No luck. She just waited, that classic HOA power move that forces the common decency of one party to acknowledge the passive aggression of the other. With a heavy sigh, I pulled the choke. The Leviathan shuddered, coughed out a final, smoky, defiant breath, and died. The silence rushed in, painful and accusing. "Morning, Leo," she said, gliding toward me over the dew-covered grass. Her voice was pure honey laced with arsenic. "Sure is, Penny," I shouted, giving her my best fake enthusiasm. "Gotta tame the jungle. Keep that curb appeal up, right?" Her smile was thinner than a razor blade. "It's just 8:02, and some of our residents, myself included, are finding the sheer volume of your equipment profoundly disruptive." Disruptive? It's a mower, Penny. It mows. That's the sound of hard work. It is the sound of a B-52 bomber in a holding pattern, Leo. At 8:02 a.m., she reached into her robe and pulled out a piece of paper. "And this," she said, handing it over, "is your first official warning." I took it. It was laminated. Heavy-duty, thick plastic, like a restaurant menu designed to be stabbed repeatedly. Notice of nuisance. Excessive decibels. Who laminates a warning? I stammered, genuinely impressed by the sheer level of petty dedication. "We take our community standards very seriously, Leo," she said, her eyes gleaming. "While the bylaws state 8 a.m., the spirit of the law implies a more gentle start. Perhaps 10 a.m. Or, preferably, you could hire a professional, silent service. Greenstride, perhaps? They are on the approved vendor list." I stared at the laminated sheet, feeling the heat rise in my chest. "This isn't about decibels, Penny. This is about the Leviathan. You've always hated the Leviathan. This is about compliance, Leo," she corrected, her smile widening. "Have a wonderful day." And she glided away, leaving me sitting there, holding my plastic-coated failure. I stormed inside, slamming the door. My wife, Alicia, was sipping coffee, scrolling on her tablet. You will not believe what she did. I spiked the warning onto the counter. She laminated it. "The mower, Leo?" Alicia asked, her voice heavy with the exhaustion of a woman who's been here before. She called my classic American machine a nuisance. Alicia finally looked up, pushing her glasses up her nose. Honey, it sounds like an angry washing machine fighting a chainsaw. And you did fix the muffler with a soup can. A Goya black bean can. I shot back. High-grade steel. That's not the point. The point is the principle. Well, your principal just got you on the agenda for the emergency HOA meeting Thursday night, she sighed. She's calling it the Sonic Siege. An emergency meeting for me? For the noise. I felt the panic rise. Dave, please, just go by one of the quiet electric ones. I like the Ryobi one. It's quiet. It's green. I am not surrendering to lawn tyranny. I declared. I am going to that meeting. I will defend my rights. Okay, Alicia said, turning back to her tablet. Just please don't wear the t-shirt that says, "Give me liberty" or "Give me lawn." It's getting old. For the next 4 days, I became a man obsessed, poring over the HOA documents and old gardening magazines. I found a 1996 article extolling the virtues of my engine as a workhorse of the American yard. I prepared my visual aid, a badly drawn chart titled The Leo Constant, Efficiency versus Audibility. See, Alicia, I explained, holding the chart up while she prepped dinner. The Leviathan is loud, yes, but she's fast. 2 acres in 20 minutes. That's 112 dB for 20 minutes. A quiet electric mower takes an hour at 65 dB. Therefore, my total noise exposure footprint is actually less than the silent mower. It's simple math. Alicia stopped chopping vegetables. She just stared. Leo, that's not how time and perceived loudness work. People don't care about your footprint. They care about being ripped out of their sleep. They're going to laugh you out of there. Thursday night arrived. The meeting was in Penelope's immaculate, beige living room. I felt like a brightly colored stain on her pristine white carpet. She didn't waste time. She had a laptop plugged into her flat screen. Willow Creek Estates versus Maxwell, Re. Ordinance 7B, Noise Nuisance. My heart pounded. She clicked. The screen flashed. The Sonic Siege, a crisis of order. A PowerPoint. For a lawnmower. She showed the decibel reading, 112 dB, equivalent to a chainsaw. Then she played the audio file. The Leviathan sounded truly terrifying from her perspective. Finally, the video clip. Mrs. Thompson's prize-winning petunias visibly rattling on her windowsill at 8:04 a.m. I was unaware of the petunia situation. I whispered. The floor is yours, Leo, Penelope said, arms crossed. I stood up, holding my chart. It felt small now. I apologize for the petunias. But this mower is efficient. The loudness is a byproduct of power. I'm saving us all from prolonged noise. The treasurer, a sour-faced man named Gary, took a sip of his lemon water. Mr. Maxwell, have you considered a manual reel mower? A manual reel mower? I almost choked. Is this the Oregon Trail? Am I supposed to wear overalls and churn my own butter? This is about a man's right to mow. This is about a community's right to peace. Penelope countered, her voice like ice. All in favor of banning gas-powered equipment exceeding 70 dB. Every hand went up. Unanimous. The motion passed. I was issued a formal, laminated letter and a $150 fine. I drove home in a silence colder than liquid nitrogen. Tyranny by beige. How'd it go, champ? Alicia asked. They banned the Leviathan. Banned me from my own lawn. Well, Alicia sighed. I guess we're getting the quiet electric one. No, I said, my voice dangerously low. No, I am not giving in. If they want quiet, I'll give them quiet. I'll give them maliciously quiet. For 2 days, I festered. I even tried those pathetic electric mowers. The Ryobi whisper cut choked and died on a slightly damp clover patch. It felt like defeat. And then, at 3 a.m., huddled under the covers, scrolling that glorious subreddit, HOA Loopholes Are Us, I saw my chance. I pulled up the Willow Creek bylaws. I scrolled past the parking and the trash sections. And then, Section 15, Pets and Animals. No resident shall keep dogs of an aggressive breed. Appendix F, snakes, exotic pets, or fowl. Fowl. They banned chickens. Smart. But it didn't say. It didn't say livestock. It didn't say ungulates. It didn't say goats. A slow, terrifying grin stretched across my face. It was 3:15 a.m. I shook Alicia awake. Alicia, wake up. What does the HOA bylaw say about ungulates? What, Leo? It's 3 a.m. Is that a new type of hedge? It's a hoofed mammal, Alicia. Like a deer or a goat. And the bylaws are silent. Her eyes went from confusion to wide, dawning horror. Oh no, she breathed. You're not buying goats. They're quiet. They're organic. They're silent mowers. Leo, they poop. Goats poop. It's fertilizer, Alicia. Organic fertilizer. Penelope pays $50 a bag for this stuff. We'll be giving it away. She groaned and buried her face in her pillow. This is a fever dream. When I wake up, this conversation never happened. But it did. By 6 a.m., I was on Craigslist, Farm and Garden, calling a man named Gus the Goat Grimaldi. You want goats in Willow Creek? You kidding me, city boy? Gus wheezed, laughing like a dying air compressor. You're the fourth call this year. The others chickened out. I stood my ground. I need 4. How loud are they? Louder than your fancy mower, but it's a God's kind of loud, he said. HOA can't do nothing about that. They ain't returnable. They eat everything. Vinyl siding, wives' prize flowers, everything. They sound perfect, I said. I borrowed a rickety trailer. I bought 4 goats. Chewy, Stomper, Butthead, the digger/climber, and Penelope, named after the meanest goat Gus owned. I paid the $200 plus the $50 suburban aggravation fee. I drove home, feeling like an idiot and a conquering hero simultaneously. Alicia demanded a pen. The HOA rule, decorative, white picket style, 48 inches high. I called Angelo's Fine Fencing. I paid cash. I lied to Angelo, the most professional man you'd ever meet, that I needed the 4-foot picket fence reinforced on the inside with galvanized steel mesh. Prison mesh. Because I was adopting 4 Irish wolfhound puppies who were huge climbers and very rowdy. Angelo looked from the trailer to me. Prison mesh for a dog? Very, very mean puppies. I lied. He sighed, took the wolfhound proofing rush fee, and did it himself. It was a masterpiece. HOA compliant outside, Fort Knox inside. Deployment. I unlatched the trailer. Chewy, Stomper, Butthead, and Penelope trotted out. They hit the grass. Chomp, chomp, chomp. No roar, no smoke. Just nature. I grabbed a lawn chair and a beer. I was the king of loopholes. Just then, human Penelope walked out to get her mail. She saw me. She saw the goats. She stopped mid-stride. Her jaw unhinged. Her eyes darted from the goats to the fence, back to the goats. She was furiously processing the entire HOA bylaw in her head. I gave her the friendly half-wave. Afternoon, Penelope, I called out, taking a long, slow sip. Just, mowing the lawn. Her face was a glorious study in confusion, rage, and grudging admiration. It was worth every single penny. For 24 glorious hours, I had won. But then day 2 dawned. The lawn was violated. Goats don't cut, they curate. They left bald, muddy patches and ignored the ugliest weeds. Then came the smell. Leo, Alicia pinched her nose. It smells like a petting zoo that threw up a chilly dog. I spent the next hour with a shovel. This was not the victory I imagined. At noon, Goat Penelope was braced against the house, peeling off a long strip of vinyl siding and chewing it thoughtfully. Bad goat. Stop eating the house. I screamed. Before I could process the repair cost, I heard Alicia's scream. A primal, gut-wrenching scream. She was staring at her prize-winning azaleas. Stomper was finishing the last of the petals. They were stumps. Dave, Alicia said, her voice quiet dead. Tell me Stomper is not eating my award-winning azaleas. I looked at Stomper, who burped. I looked at the stumps. Honey, I tried. Look, on the bright side, they're being organically recycled. Circle of life. I slept on the couch. The next morning, Officer Miller arrived. He looked at my duct-taped siding, the hoof prints on my car hood, and the patchy, pungent lawn. He sighed the sigh of a man who had seen too much. Mr. Maxwell, we have received calls. Bleeding aggressively, olfactory nuisance. I tried my loophole. Officer, the bylaws are silent on ungulates. The City Ordinance 12.5, nuisance animals, is not silent, sir. And the City Ordinance trumps the HOA bylaw. Any animal that, by virtue of its smell, noise, or destructive nature, interferes with a neighbor's peaceful enjoyment is a nuisance. He pointed. Sir, your neighbors are definitely not peacefully enjoying. I was defeated, but not broken. I spent all Sunday upgrading the fence. 10-foot rebar stakes and chicken wire, turning Angelo's beautiful picket fence into a rusty, 8-foot-tall Mad Max tumor. It's rustic, Alicia, I argued. It's insane, Leo. Penelope is taking pictures. The goats are contained, I declared. Let's see them get out of that. The next day, 2 p.m., my phone rang. It was Alicia. Leo, they're out. Butthead dug. He dug under the gate. They're all out. I screeched home. It was anarchy. Chewy was eating the windshield wipers off Penelope's Lexus. Stomper and Penelope the goat were playing King of the Hill on the Thompson's Italian fountain. Then I saw it. Butthead was gone. I looked up. He had used the leaning oak tree. He was standing on my chimney, silhouetted against the sunset, chewing on a shingle. The roof goat. A roof goat, Mr. Thompson whispered. I heard a siren. A real siren. Officer Miller pulled up, not alone. He looked at me, covered in grass, and sighed, then looked up at the chimney. He got on the radio. Yeah, dispatch, it's a goat on a roof. Send the ladder truck. The fire department arrived. They had to use a catch pole. Butthead headbutt the rookie firefighter. Officer Miller walked over, writing tickets. Mr. Maxwell, public nuisance, failure to contain, and this, he scribbled, is a reckless endangerment of a firefighter by ungulate citation. You made that up. The judge will get the gist, he said, handing me the stack of pink papers. You have 48 hours to remedy the goat situation. I looked at my porch. Alicia was standing there, holding a small suitcase. I'm going to my sister's, Leo, she said, her voice terrifyingly calm. The goat, or me. You have 24 hours. She got in her car and drove away. I sat there, staring at the citations. I had lost. The Leviathan was silent. My organic mowers had destroyed my house and my marriage. I called Gus Grimaldi. Yeah, it's City Boy. He laughed for a full 30 seconds. Roof goat, right? Butthead. I begged him for a return. He refused, but offered to repossess them for a $100 hauling fee. I paid my last $100. The next week was a blur of expensive humility. I paid the fines. I hired a crew to scrape my lawn clean and lay new sod. I replaced the vinyl siding. I bought the pathetic Silver Whisper MO 5000. It sounded like an apology. Penelope was smugly victorious. A month later, I was doing my pathetic, silent mowing. The new sod was lush. I finished, rolled up the cord, and saw it. A new laminated note taped to my door. Per Section 8C, all new sod installations must be fescue blend. Your sod appears to be Kentucky bluegrass. Remedy immediately. I crumpled the note, vibrating with impotent rage. Then I saw movement. I looked across the street at Penelope's perfect fescue lawn, and I saw a rabbit. A fluffy, small rabbit, chewing contentedly. And another. And another. Soon, a dozen rabbits were having a feast on her prize grass. What in the... I looked at my yard. I looked at the spot where the old fence was. The landscapers had laid the sod, but they hadn't filled the hole. Butthead's tunnel. Butthead. I thought, tears welling up. You beautiful, chaotic genius. You didn't just dig an escape route. You dug an access tunnel. I slowly turned off my silent mower. I got a beer. I sat in my lawn chair. And then I heard it. A shriek. Penelope. She had run out onto her porch, flapping her silk robe, pointing at the horde of silent, fluffy, fescue-eating rodents. I listened. It wasn't the Leviathan roaring. It was the sound of Penelope Prescott screaming, absolutely losing her mind over a nuisance she couldn't laminate, she couldn't cite, and she couldn't ban. That, my friends, was a new kind of lawn song. And it was beautiful. So there it is. I lost $4,000, my azaleas, and nearly my marriage, all to defeat a tyrannical HOA president using a goat and a rabbit. Who was right? Was I justified in fighting for my right to noise and my principle, or did I simply go too far? And seriously, if you were Penelope, how would you have dealt with the rabbit apocalypse? Tell me your thoughts in the comments below. Don't forget to like and share if you've ever had a run-in with a truly laminated kind of crazy.